Hello Internet, I am the hero of Julios once again with another episode of the Saltmarsh vlog. In my last episode I said I was going to have a skeleton crew of players, but turns out that's not what ends up happening. So I thought it was just going to be the wizard and the two rogues. But despite the monk, the fighter, and the druid not showing up or not being available for next week, I ended up with a monk who was a player from a previous campaign of mine, which was cool, and the female rogue, her husband, actually came playing as a monk. So I lost one monk, got two monks back. And then the thing that the fighter had to do ended up not happening, so he got to come back. So I was playing with a full crew, which was good, because in that ghost ship event, the Emperor of the Waves, that safe is pretty heavy. Unfortunately, there's no way to nullify the safe's weight, so I'm getting into it. So as they go down to the bottom of the ship, I decide that the spider druid guy had captured the two monks in question and was going to feed them to the ghouls they're ghasts. The ghasts at the front of the ship as a sacrifice to the great Lolth. Unfortunately for him, he died, and had the players not gone to the basement of this ship to get the safe, so would have those monks. But they didn't, so good for them. Unfortunately, because the rogue was curious, she walked up to the front of the ship. I told her, there's scratch marks on this trap door, and, she just looks at me and goes, I open it. Because wouldn't you know, they just want to fight something. That's players, honestly, this is stepping out of what the events of the day, but just something I've found as a DM. Players like to fight things, and not just for the sake of fighting things. It's almost like, how do I put it? It's like recess. Fighting is like recess in D&D. Your kids have been studying and role-playing and figuring out what the big bad's up to or how to get past this puzzle, but then a fight breaks out. Couple ghasts come dropping down from the front of the ship, or a gelatinous ooze comes through a hole, or a dragon swoops in. However the fight begins, this is a moment for the players to kind of just run into the motions. They know what their characters can do. If they haven't leveled up freshly, they're not trying anything new, so they can run through the motions, they can enjoy it, they get a little exercise, and then they go right back into combat, or right back into role-playing. My players aren't murder hobos, so they don't fight for the sake of fighting, which is why when an opportunity to fight something comes, they don't tend to run away. So after they defeat the ghasts, they free the two monks, and that's when I have the octopus start attacking. That's right, there's a giant octopus with apparently unlimited HP, and anytime it gets hit, it has to take 20 damage in a single attack before it stops attacking. So every turn, at the start of their turn, they have to roll, and they have to succeed on a DC 10 dexterity saving throw. That's right, I, the DM, get to do ticking damage every single turn using a dexterity saving throw on two rogues and two monks. So you can imagine my surprise when I barely ever hit them. I hit one monk. I was very proud of that. I did hit it. No, actually, I hit each monk once. And weirdly enough, never hit the wizard. The wizard! The wizard succeeded on all his DCs for a dexterity saving throw. So there you go. Tell that to your friends. Sometimes a wizard succeeds where a monk shouldn't have failed. So anyways, they get the safe. They carry the safe all the way up to the top of the ship. They get it to a rowboat. They get it away. The octopus only wanted the ship, according to the book, so it takes the ship and it just goes underwater. With that, the players sail their way back to Saltmarsh. We still had an hour left in the session after all the turns of moving very slowly out of the ship because the safe was super heavy. So once we had about an hour left, I decided to just do a simple player versus environment. So I could have just had these harpies come swooping in, because I rolled on the random chart. I got a queen harpy, and then I decided to add a few harpies to it. So I could have had them just swoop in, but I decided instead to have them be at the maximum range of 300 feet out, so that the players couldn't directly destroy them. So I had them out there in the ocean doing their harpy song, and the players were slowly watching as members of their crew, who they are starting to grow attached to, were starting to walk towards their untimely demises. Fortunately for them, Kale, the former pirate in the crew, he succeeded on his saving throw, and he's actually familiar with this. So he assisted them in slapping awake everyone. I think only 3 members of the crew actually got affected by the sirens. One of them being, well, actually 2 of them, both the monks got affected. And one monk got snapped out of it real quick. The other monk, because they kept shooting at her, she kept grabbing them. She kept grabbing what they were shooting, spinning it around, and chucking it back at them. So that was fun. They did eventually succeed, and everybody did get away safely, but sometimes you just got to tack on a little something extra just to fill out what's left of the session. With that, they are returning to Saltmarsh, and honestly, I'm still up in the air of whether or not I want Saltmarsh to be damaged or perfectly normal. I think it's time, now that Silco and Klug have had some time to reflect on their loss, I think it's time for the villains to take a proactive approach. So I'm still debating on that, but we'll find out in the next episode, and yeah, I hope you will be there with me. So thank you for watching as always, and I will see you in the next video. This is the Hero of Julios, Xing out.